Harrison. Talk show. Political. Outrageous. Philosophical. Analytical. Passionate. Sunsets. Roadkill cooking tips. Open-minded. Swordsman. Bent. Resolute. Chocolate. Bushwhacker. Belt buckles. Investigative. Companion. Fearless. Call in. Piercing the cloud of mainstream entertainment. Live from Hollywood. It's Harrison.
It is 4 minutes past the hour. Harrison with you, your new best friend. Welcome and happy Monday to you. We're going to have so much fun today. I'm already horripilating in anticipatory delight. And I could say that 10 times in a row without stumbling more than 3 times. It's a miracle. I am thrilled that we're going to have on today an activist, a political pundit, that's a double alliteration, and also a man whom you've seen many times on Comedy Central, on CNN, instrumental in Bill Clinton's campaign and helping out at Obama. The list goes on, and a guy who has taken advantage of a foundation that took advantage, in many ways, of what the hard work that was done before them. In fact, the civil rights movement, which is something that is ongoing, we know as of just the end of last week, gay folks in the state of New York can now get married as if they're human beings. I know, it's a miracle. Woo! So all the elevators are starting to go up, and at some point we'll get from sporting goods all the way to lingerie if we're very lucky. But it's because of the hard work, the sweat, the heavy lifting of certain individuals who actually suit up and show up on behalf of millions of other people whom they will never meet, that we end up moving things forward. Sitting around in Malibu, it's a lovely thing to do, but meditating with your palms up, hoping the homeless suddenly and magically get fed, doesn't seem to work as well. My opinion only. It's also my opinion, my experience, that God never faxed a resume for me yet. Although I have hoped for that to happen.
You're young, Harrison.
Thank you.
You're young yet.
That is the right thing to say, Mercy Malik. So, without further ado, I really want to introduce a guy who has done so much. His name is Jamal Simmons. And Jamal, welcome to Harrison. And you're representing the Rosa Parks Foundation. And Rosa Parks, no stranger to any of the humans on Earth at this point.
That's right. Thank you for having me. It's fun to be here in your studio. I got some of the background on the studio before I got over here, which is also kind of fun. But yes, we're working with the Rosa Parks Scholarship Foundation, which is giving out 40 scholarships to kids every single year. I got one when I graduated from high school, and so I wanted to make sure that other kids have the same opportunity to get it. And we launched this sort of innovative social media campaign with a bunch of celebrities and other fancy pants people who've been willing to kind of come on board and tweet and Facebook and whatever to try to raise money for.
Now, when you say fancy pants, is it you're looking at these shorts that I'm wearing that are not on camera? I know, it's okay. I try to provide myself in full sartorial splendor for our celebrated guests.
You're an intellectual fancy pants.
Only the finest. Only the
Just
finest.
exposed a bare knee on camera there.
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
Well, at least I didn't show my chihuahua, which is code for dog. We have, and I have a special gift for you, Jamal.
Yes, sir.
You may or may not have ever heard this before, but it is the audio of Rosa Parks being interviewed a day after her arrest.
Wow.
And we dug this thing up in the Pacifica Archives, and I want to acknowledge the Pacifica Archives. I mean, we have Mama Cass reading John Ehrlichman from the Nixon tapes. We have the greatest group of perverts doing the wrong stuff inside out. But Rosa Parks, because back in the old days, when Pacifica really was on its game, we would show up with microphones, shove it through the bars of a jail cell and say, "What were you thinking?" You're going to hear audio in just a few minutes of her telling the story of what really happened. It's profound, and I was so thrilled to go through the dusty archives, clawing through the cobwebs to find this.
You still got dust in your hair,
Thank you.
Proves his commitment.
Or it's dandruff, but I'm going to go with the dust theory. One of the things, when I knew you were coming on, I said, we got to do something special for this guy, because Rosa Parks really changed the course of history as we know it. I mean, along with many other people.
No, absolutely.
But she's it, right? She's it in so many ways. And I knew you were coming on, and I knew that the foundation had helped you go to Morehouse College, had given you an awesome education.
Which is the alma mater of Martin Luther King.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And you are giving the gift of your education back by publicly helping people, by publicly bringing forth the Rosa Parks Foundation, by helping political causes that further the course of humanity as opposed to constipate the course of humanity. So I appreciate that too. So I wanted to give you this audio so that you could hear it today. And we'll hear that coming up in just a couple of minutes, exclusive, probably never before heard audio by you plural, any of us listening right now. And of course, we're streaming this video live right now at goharrison.com. Simply go to goharrison.com and you can watch Jamal here, shaved, manicured, ready for action, right? As we celebrate the Rosa Parks Foundation. Also coming up in a handful of minutes, we're going to be talking to an organization called Tell DC. And these people have created a social media site, much as Jamal is talking about, social media moving things forward, where if only 50 of us get together and come up with a common question, they will send a camera crew right into the lap of Congress, shove a camera into the face of Senator XYZ and ask your question, and then publish the video publicly. And that way, none of these politicians, I never said that. Oh, yeah? Let's watch that again. So that's coming up in about a half hour. But Jamal, without further ado, tell us, you're celebrating the Rosa Parks Foundation. You're making it a known entity. Some people won't know. I'm guessing Mildred in Ohio right now says, what's that?
Well, again, the Rosa Parks Scholarship Foundation has been doing this since 1980. Mrs. Parks, after she left Alabama, she went to work for Congressman John Conyers, who we all know from the Judiciary Committee. Yeah. She worked for him for years until she retired and lived in Detroit. And so they started this foundation in her honor in 1980, and they've been giving out these scholarships. I had a chance to meet her for the first time when I got my scholarship award, which is pretty amazing. I wish I would have worn a suit. I got the picture. I'm in a sweater. I don't know what I'm doing in a sweater. But
it makes you accessible. You're
yeah,
man of
I
the
guess
people,
that's probably right. You're meeting Rosa Parks, sweater.
She probably didn't mind.
No.
I mean,
I don't think she cared.
Young and cute. I'm sure she said yes.
Yes, my high top fade and my braces. It was adorable.
Nice.
But it was a great time. So people can go to my website, jamalsimmons.com, click on the link, $40 for 40 kids. We think if everybody in the sound of my voice gave $40, they could help keep 40 kids getting scholarships. It's not that complicated.
Right. And the state of Michigan becoming more and more famous by the moment. I mean, whether it's Michael Moore agitating and muckraking and getting Oscars for it, your own governor has created tax breaks for Hollywood to relocate into Michigan. Right. In Detroit, I guess you can buy a house for $3.50 now and rehab it. So there's a lot of activity going on. But this foundation is based in Michigan.
Yes.
Michigan, one of the ancient states, Pontiac, named after Chief Pontiac. We forget the Native American history there and the original wars that went on and the French coming in and all the rest of it.
That's right.
So the spotlight is back, and here you are moving things forward.
And you know what happened in Michigan? One of the great things about American democracy happened there, which is the manufacturing sector, because of the union movement, which I was lucky my grandfather played a strong role in, but because of the union movement, the manufacturing sector provided this huge economic boom to middle-class people, black, white, from Appalachia, from Alabama, from all over. People came there, they got jobs, they got decent wages, they put their kids into school, a lot of people became professionals, these wonderful universities, great healthcare system, all of that was built in states like Michigan, primarily because of the union movement. And now what we're seeing around the country, where people are attacking the union movement, trying to snatch back all these benefits that have been gotten over the last few years, and it's really taken a heart and a hit at the middle class, which is really something that's got to stop.
Yeah, so true. I mean, we go back to World War II, and when FDR told Detroit, you're not making automobiles starting tomorrow, you're making aircraft.
That's right.
And he said you got 90 days, and they did it in like 72, more than they even had room for. So a lot of people came from the South and started to really develop their own sense of who they were. It really was a beautiful miracle. I mean, war is ugly in many ways, but it also is a real shifter of culture and dynamism in so many ways.
Yeah, but in the beginning of that whole thing, the companies really had the iron fist on those workers, and they held them back, and we had things like the Battle of the Overpass, the River Rouge plant, all these sort of legendary things that happened, which really solidified the UAW, and the CIO ultimately became the AFL-CIO, but really solidified, and it brought, for the first time, the CIO was the first union to bring African Americans in after the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters. Too much labor history here. But ultimately...
Well, I think there's lots of listeners that go, there's no such thing.
I was just thinking that. Lay it on us.
But ultimately, what really happened is it also created this equality between blacks and whites for the first time in many companies, where they were able to make the same wage. So it was a huge revolutionary change, which ultimately did lead to the civil rights movement, because you had these people with money, and they wanted wanted to take their money and have the same rights as everybody else with the money they had. And they supported people like Martin Luther King and his efforts with their excess wages. And they sent money to him to help foster the civil rights movement. So it's a huge, huge impact in the places like Michigan.
Harrison with you. It is 14 minutes past the hour. You're listening to Harrison on KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles, 98.7 FM in Santa Barbara, 93.7 in San Diego, 99.5 in Central California. Streaming live video as well right now via Ustream on our GoHarrison.com channel, GoHarrison.com. Later tonight it'll be available on YouTube, starting tomorrow on DirecTV for some 25 million people to enjoy the extraordinary sparkle, twinkle, and animated zeal of our guest, Jamal Simmons. Jamal, you know from endless appearances on CNN, got more airtime than probably Wolf Blitzer at certain points. We see you on Comedy Central. We see you all over the place because you're out doing the good work. And he's here representing the Rosa Parks Foundation, giving back and helping get scholarships for people. And all he's asking is that people who can throw in $40 for 40 kids.
$40 for 40 kids.
And they get to go to college, and then they get to recycle. They get to be green and bring back the smartness that he has. Let's hear now, Jamal Simmons, Rosa Parks being interviewed just a day or two after her arrest, explaining what happened. I've got two parts, each is about a minute.
All right.
This is the very beginning. They said, well, Miss Parks, what happened?
As the bus proceeded out of town, on the third stop, the white passengers had filled the front of the bus. When I got on the bus, the rear was filled with colored passengers, and they were beginning to stand. The seat I occupied was the first of the seats where the Negro passengers take as they on this route. The driver noted that the front of the bus was filled with white passengers, and there would be 2 or 3 men standing. He looked back and asked that the seat where I had taken, along with 3 other persons, one in the seat with me and 2 across the aisle, was seated. He demanded the seat that we were occupying. The other passengers very reluctantly gave up their seats, but I refused to do so. I want to make very certain that it is understood that I had not taken a seat in the white section, as has been reported in many cases. An article came out in the newspaper on Friday morning.
Wow.
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 And that's Rosa Parks saying that what we were all sort of officially taught, it didn't quite turn out that way. But what did turn out that way is what we know was the result of that. And here's part 2, Jamal Simmons, where she explains when they did say, okay, get out of that seat. And she said, I don't think so.
I left work on my way home December 1st, 1955, about 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I boarded the bus downtown Montgomery on Court Square. As the bus proceeded out of town, on the third stop, the white passengers had filled the front of the bus. When I got on the bus, the rear was filled with colored passengers, and they were beginning to stand. The seat I occupied was the first of the seats where the Negro passengers take as they on this route. The driver noted that the front of the bus was filled with white passengers, and there would be 2 or 3 men standing. He looked back and asked that the seat where I had taken, along with 3 other persons, one in the seat with me and 2 across the aisle, was seated. He demanded the seat that we were occupying. The other passengers very reluctantly gave up their seats, but I refused to do so. I want to make very certain that it is understood that I had not taken a seat in the white section.
And that's the key statement right there.
Right.
That she had not taken a seat in the white section, which is what I, as a Caucasoid, as a gringo, this is what I was taught officially in school.
Well, I think it's basically what everybody was taught in school. It's just the common historical myth of that day. But like you said, it doesn't impact what happened after that. And clearly, them coming to her and saying, you must get up out of your seat to give it to a white passenger is still the basis for the movement that she sparked.
Yeah, and it seems, Jamal Simmons, that it speaks to an issue that you deal with, that I deal with a lot, which is the mass media telling portion of reality. And then peppering it, sexing it up, adding a couple of cornflakes, number two, giving it an enema, and making it a whole lot of fun for all the kids. Yeah, you know it. With no off switch. And so even back then, I mean, this is 1955, 1960s, and all of that. And so the official story, as is still printed in the textbooks, is somewhat indirect. But what is real is what you're doing with it now.
Well, you know what might have changed it? If this had happened today, everybody would be tweeting what really happened while it was going on. Rosa Parks in the chair. She's not getting up. They're coming to get her. No, she's not getting up. The police are on board. No, she's still not getting up. But instead, we have to rely back on the old-time editors and the slow news, as a lot of us call it.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel that having gone to Morehouse College, having taken advantage of the Rosa Parks Foundation, it taking advantage of you now in all the right ways?
I didn't take advantage of the Rosa Parks Foundation.
No,
you veiled yourself.
Yes.
No, I mean, you did. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. It's kind of like food, starving person. Take advantage of the food or starve. And by you offering nutrition to your soul, to your intellect, to your mind, you're a supercharged guy that can go out and fully deliver back as they intended.
Sure, absolutely.
So it's such an advantage. And I think it really speaks to the nature of education, because you're a guy who can say, hey, if I hadn't gone, maybe I wouldn't have a mind full of stuff as I do today.
Right.
And I think it really speaks to the importance of education.
It absolutely does. I mean, even we take a look now at this huge unemployment rate, 9% nationally, 16% in the African American community. And you know what it is for people with college degrees? It's 5%. So, I mean, that just tells you people with college degrees are more likely to get employed today than people without them. And so we've got to make sure people continue to get educated if we care at all about economic opportunity and economic justice.
So give us the quick recap, because we've just heard audio for the first time, many of us, of Rosa Parks just a day or two after her arrest, explaining what really happened. To me, it's kind of magical, right?
Yeah, that voice.
He's hearing that voice, and she's really articulate. She's everything I was taught she was not. She was like, my God, I wish my third-grade English teacher were her, right? That would have been a real bounce straight upwards, right? And
my grandmother is from near Montgomery. Sounds exactly like that. She used to sound exactly like that. It's amazing. I think there's something about those women from that era. These were very proper women. Who they were church women, and they were very raising their children in a certain way. So that era produced a lot of people who really had the same kind of bearing as Rosa Parks sounds like she had.
Right, very beautiful and elegant.
Yeah.
I saw her speak when I think she was in her 70s, and she still had that elegance and that sort of regal posture. And she was tiny woman. She was
small.
like barely 5 feet tall, but just stunning even then.
Absolutely.
Harris with you. It's 22 minutes past the hour. That's Mercy Malik. We're talking to Jamal Simmons. Jamal is with the Rosa Parks Foundation. Jamal is ubiquitous, whatever that means. He's seen and is virtually everywhere. And I think after you leave our broadcast today, you're on CNN.
I'm on with Cenk.
You're on with Cenk on MSNBC.
MSNBC.
Nice.
Right.
All right, perfect. And so you're getting this message out. And you mentioned earlier on that smartly you use celebrities to propel this thing forward. And they are our kings and queens.
Right.
That's the top of the food chain in the United States. So which celebrities have jumped on this smartly?
Well, it's been great. Kerry Washington sent out the actress, she sent out the first tweet last week. Sherry Shepard from The View was a couple days after that. Tomorrow, Kim Coles from Living Single, people remember the comedian. Also, we've got people like Hill Harper, who's out doing books, and just a whole bunch of some of the Democrats and Republicans you've seen on TV, like Kevin Madden and Wesley Sanchez, who went today, who are Republicans, came together with some of the Democrats like Karen Finney from MSNBC and Kirsten Powers, and so it's been a really amazing thing that people have done for the Rosa Parks Scholarship Foundation. And again, they can go to JamalSimmons.com if they want to give. But
and
anybody can do
that
it.
out for people driving and smoking cigarettes and texting at the same time illegally.
Absolutely. So it's Jamal Simmons, JamalSimmons. So JamalSimmons.com. You can go there. $40 for 40 students. Push the button, give the money, goes straight to kids. 95% of the money you give goes straight to the kids because most of the administrative costs are volunteered. The Detroit News in Michigan houses the foundation and really pays a lot of those costs. So it's been really good.
I love that because we have so many charities where 60, 70, 80% goes to administration. I mean, all these people breaking their ass, having lunch and naps, and they drive cars. They do all this beautiful stuff, and the hungry people don't get fed, and the charities don't function properly.
That's
and
right.
95%, the only other charity I can name here in Los Angeles would be Out of the Closet, which is for HIV, AIDS research and such. 96 or 95 goes directly to the client. So great place to recycle your clothing, your furniture, your electronics, knowing it hits its bullseye. And for you to be involved, I could see why any celebrity would feel wildly comfortable because you're hitting a double home run at the same time with the Rosa Parks Foundation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it gets Rosa Parks Scholarship Foundation.
Thank you.
Just because it's a little bit different. There's two foundations out there. So I want to make sure it's going to the scholarships. This is it's been a tremendous time. And you know what's happening right now in politics. You've all been paying attention to, the Republicans are running against each other. Michelle Bachmann announced today. And the fundamental part of the Tea Party platform, of the Republican Party platform, is to limit the amount of opportunity, limit the way that government can help level the playing field for people, which is precisely what the civil rights movement was about. It was about leveraging the national and federal government to make sure every citizen had his and her rights to be able to do what she and he wanted to do in their lives. And so we can't sit back and let that happen. I think a lot of people, we kind of get caught up in the day-to-day fight about, I wanted more of this policy or less of that one. But we have to remember that we have to still stand up for the big thrust of history, as you said, which is going toward more opportunity, more justice, more people having the ability to get out there and live their lives, achieve their dreams.
I feel like I've been drinking lightning bolts sitting here with you. Like I think I may have to go, dig $40 out of my mattress here because this is really worth it. We scream and yell and we suffer so horribly about public education and how just god awful it is. It's babysitting class or bullwhipping lessons or whatever it is in there, and what you're talking about is read and write and arithmetic.
Yeah, and in Detroit, you got 40% of kids don't graduate from high school in the city of Detroit. So to be able to take these 40 kids every year who have done the right thing and who have worked and persevered and they're ready to go, make sure they still have that opportunity. I just thought that was incredibly important because you've got to make sure that people do have those opportunities. And especially, I think sometimes we spend a lot of time focused on people who are having problems, and some of the people who are really working hard don't get enough attention. So this is one of those moments where we can show some attention to the ones who are working hard.
Wonderful. Jamal Simmons, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Harrison. Jamal Simmons, you know him. If you're minutes from now or about a half hour from now, wait till we're done and tune on MSNBC and you'll see him on talking further about the Rosa Parks Scholarship Foundation. Jamal is a wonderful activist, a pundit, has covered all kinds of political issues as a really young guy. And critical it is for us to hear youthful voices. I mean, I've had my fill, no offense if you're an old white guy, but I know what you think pretty much already. I need to hear other. That box that we check called other, that's the delicious box. In the Whitman sampler, those are the candies you want to eat because they're the most interesting, I think. I want to thank you so much for joining us. JamalSimmons.com, that's your website.
That's it.
And we'll make sure that this is available. We're streaming video live right now on GoHarrison.com. You'll see the graphics. You can watch this in the archives over and over again and get any backup and follow-up information. And we'll shoot you any alternative leads as well, Jamal.
Great,
so that you can keep this happy machine going.
And everybody can participate. Once you see the tweets go out, you can send out your own and encourage more people to join. It's easy.
Well, and easy works very well in the United States of America, I must say. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. It was fun.
Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we've got news and traffic with Jeff Thomas and Mercy Malik. And I want to also just tease that in just a moment or two, we're also going to be hearing from Tell DC. Tell DC is a social network that has gotten together, and they were imagining, well, how do we actually propel politicians to do what it is that we want. It's one thing to send an email, you can send a fax, write them a handwritten letter. All of that is well and good because you get the official response back. But what if 50 people, 50 people got together and came up with a question, like we all agreed on the question? They will send a TV crew to Washington, D.C., shove a whoring camera in the face, in the bloated, pocked face, in the boozy puss of one of our down-low politicians and ask them a political question, and then they will redeliver the video publicly and officially. That's coming up, how you and I can get involved to make sure our voices are heard. But first, a little traffic with Jeff Thomas.
Go Harrison. Completely unsponsored common sense commuter traffic.
And as you can see, they're roaring down the road.
There's so much traffic, he can't get to the mic. Okay, I'm going to take a guess. The 405 is busy between the 101 and the 10. I'm going to guess that. And I'm also going to guess that the 101 through downtown is really awful. I'm going to take a guess that the 110 south is a little bollocksed up. Is that?
It is.
Am I good?
A little bit. How's my mic, everyone?
You sound
it's on
great,
now. Yay.
You were close. The 101 south at Melrose bottles up. It's busy all the way to the 110 freeway, but that's nothing new. The 10 freeway, however, there's an accident at Holt Avenue. This is the 10 West, by the way. This is in Covina. Traffic is blocking the carpool and the left lane, and it's backed up to Fairplex. The 10 East is, let's see here, backed up before Vineland. There's a crash there. 3 right lanes are blocked. It is backed up till Mountain. If you want to take the 60 east or west as an alternative route, you can do that. You'd take it via the 57, which looks pretty good. The 5 North in La Mirada, there's also a crash in Valley View. It's busy, rather, from Valley View all the way to the 101 freeway. And other than that, everything looks good. Orange County looks beautiful. The 405, not so bad. Anyways, that's traffic. If you want
That's good.
if you want to check us out, we're streaming live on Ustream. You can go to our website, goharrison.com. Check us out live. Now let's get some news with Mercy Malik.
Harrison. From Washington prowlers to corporate crawlers. News update. Your double grind of headlines.
Go Harrison News Time is 31 minutes past the hour, and I'm Mercy Malik with your reality check. More spectacular news from the Associated Press's ongoing series of reports on the safety of U.S. nuclear power plants, or rather, the lack thereof. The AP reports that for many U.S. reactors, evacuation plans for use in the event of a radioactive leak or other emergency have not been updated in decades. Again, that's
more than
decades,
2, isn't it?
Plural. Correct, Harrison. This despite the fact that population density surrounding U.S. nuclear facilities has increased by over 4-fold since 1980. Additionally, evacuation guidelines still stand at the originally stipulated 10-mile radius, regardless of the fact that nearly 90% of operating U.S. reactors are currently functioning at dramatically higher power levels, with resultantly higher danger than they were when the 10-mile figure was advised several decades ago. By contrast, U.S. officials advised Americans in Japan to evacuate within 50 miles of the Fukushima plant last March. This and other discrepancies beg the question of whether current U.S. guidelines might stand merely because more appropriate ones would be too difficult to implement or too frightening to publicize. If, for example, a nuclear emergency occurred at the Indian Point complex outside New York City, a 50-mile radius would require the evacuation of 17.3 million people. It's 33 minutes past the hour. And now, more wacky and profoundly disturbing news regarding U.S. prisons. INNWorldReport.net notes that the Justice Policy Institute unveiled a study last Friday showing that private prison companies' influence in government policymaking led to a 3-fold increase in prison population in the past 15 years. How, you may ask? Well,
How?
Well, here's your answer. Some of the biggest companies in the private prison industry have coincidentally donated over $800,000 to federal candidates since the year 2000, as well as a stunning $6 million to state politicians in the last 5 election cycles alone.
A donation because it's the right thing to do, expecting nothing back.
That's right. It's for fun and for free, Harrison. How did you guess? The report explains, quote, private prison companies establish influential connections with policymakers, pitching private prisons and fighting policies that might reduce the use of incarceration, end quote. Perish the thought. The report also points to the revolving door existing between private prison companies and the government. Harley Lappin, formerly head of the U.S. Bureau of Prisons, was recently named Chief Corrections Officer at the Corrections Corporation of America. Side note, the United States currently holds the worldwide title for largest percentage of a nation's population currently behind bars, a situation which is, of course, funded by the taxpayers. It's 35 minutes past the hour. And finally, the triumphant return of the condom report. Safer sex advocates may rejoice to hear that a British condom designed to enhance and prolong erections has been recommended for approval in the European Union. The proactive prophylactic, I coined that phrase, so I'm going to say that again. The proactive prophylactic features...
Or PP, as we like to call it.
That's coincidental. It features a gel contained in its reservoir tip, which enhances blood flow to the male organ through arterial dilation. Doesn't that sound sexy? No word yet on whether manufacturer Futura Medical might extend a spokesmanship position to a certain disgraced former U.S. congressman who may or may not have experience in such matters and whose initials are Anthony Weiner. For Go Harrison on KPFK 90.7 Los Angeles, 98.7 Santa Barbara, 93.7 San Diego, and 99.5 Ridgecrest, China Lake, I'm Mercy Malik. You can be my friend on Facebook and send me news tips for your reality check.
News update. Harrison.
All right. It is 36 minutes past the hour. Harrison with you, your new best friend. Welcome. We are streaming live via goharrison.com, where also you can find our podcast website. Also, please join us on Facebook, keyword Go Harrison. Join us Twitter, keyword @GoHarrison, and of course on Ustream as well. Coming up in just a tick, we're going to talk to Tell DC, an organization that has found a way to directly get in the face of politicians. If only 50 of us get together and agree upon a single question, they will execute the good works. And they're nonpartisan, by the way. Key thing to understand, key thing to celebrate. So without further ado, let's check out Tell DC, because these people have something very cool going on.
And live from Hollywood, it's Harrison.
Harrison with you. You're listening to Go Harrison on KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles, 98.7 FM in Santa Barbara, 93.7 in San Diego, 99.5 in Central California. And many of us have been simply politically constipated, for lack of a more colorful term, in which we reach out to our congressmen, we reach out to our senators, we send faxes, emails, even make old-fashioned landline calls to no avail. At best, you get a courteous rejoinder back that says absolutely nothing but how delighted they are to hear from their constituents. Well, there is now finally a solution, and it comes in the form of social media, something that we've learned is incredibly powerful and effective. It's called Tell DC, and they're already 500,000 members strong. And what they do is really simple and fun. All it takes is 50 of us, that's it, 50 of us, to get together and agree on what is the right question to ask. And then they take a camera crew, go out to that politician and ask the very question and videotape the response and make it public. I'll give you an example. This is Congressman McCotter from Michigan, and he's responding to one of these little queries and, of course, saying just the right thing.
Thaddeus McCotter, United States Representative from Michigan's 11th Congressional District. One of the things you can do on the Tell DC page is make sure that your servant in Congress know what's on your mind, know how you are holding them accountable, and how you demand constructive change in this chaotic time in which we find our nation. There is no stronger voice than yours. There is no better time than now. Thank you for participating.
All right, that was Congressman McCotter. And thank you. Without further ado, let's say hi to Tim Yale, founder of Tell DC.
Thanks, Harrison. I'm excited to be here, too.
How do you do this thing? Because we have all written emails. We've sent faxes. Remember fax machines?
Sure.
That apparently is still an effective way, but you actually get in with cameras.
Yeah, and we do. You know, if you go to the site, telldc.com, you're going to be able to see the highlighted responses that are always rolling past on the home page, and there's several of the members that have done it. And it is a social network created for people to access politicians.
And there's also a terrifically beautiful thing when you go in and you tell a congressman or a senator that you actually have a camera. There is something inherently intimidating and delicious about the fact of rolling tape. And we know this from CNN when Anthony Weiner, who never got to use his wiener. I mean, poor guy, right? If you're going to go to that length, get something out of it. But we can see that clip over and over again, 2,000 times a day on CNN, and you'd think the guy has had the most sex of any human since the dawn of Christendom, right? Only because we see an event replayed over and over again. That's the power of the camera. When you go in with Tell DC and say we're bringing in the cameras, they know that they can't blow you off, because you can stand out and show 6,000 times in a row beating on the congressman's door and somebody saying he's not here.
Right. And backed up by a group of people, because the fundamental rule over at Tell DC right now, and you know, to this week I think we launched in February, and just this past week we're almost through 600,000 signups. So the sign-up rate is increasing. You know, the site's growing. People are complimenting us, and you know, we're going on shows like this, which I really appreciate. But the exciting part is, as the awareness of the site is increasing, the access to the members is getting easier too, because once they say, okay, you know, it's something I have to do, it gets a lot easier for them to agree to do it.
Let's jump off the high dive here, and I understand, before we go to your wife, co-founder of Tell DC, let's hear some audio and watch some video. And we're streaming, by the way, live right now. If you go to goharrison.com, main page, you'll see a live video box there. This will be archived in perpetuity and available usually tomorrow on Ustream, keyword Go Harrison. And you can watch some of these videos, see some of these Congress people being forced to respond to the exciting whirlwind of magic that nothing like a video camera can actually force present.
It's Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez. You asked me a question about what am I doing to create jobs and decrease unemployment in Orange County. Well, first and foremost, we've put a lot of money into research and development for new energy, for new health systems, for breakthroughs, if you will. And of course, innovation happens here in California in particular. So there are still monies from the original stimulus program that are being used in particular here in Orange County. The second thing is the high-speed rail. The Orange County Business Council has said that the high-speed rail that goes from Anaheim to San Francisco, 2 hours and 15 minutes. You can go from Disneyland to Fisherman's Wharf. Will be about 50,000 jobs for the next 10 years. So I originally put in $8 billion towards that project. Then we got it up to $10 billion. Quite frankly, the Republicans have just cut that money, so I'm fighting to try to get it back so we can build that system.
All right. Now, that's a very cool video because it talks about what she's doing. Here's the question that I think a lot of people would want to know is, do you ever jump in and go, wait a minute, you know, the high-speed rail that goes, it hasn't even been built. It may not be built, and it goes from Bakersfield to somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Yes, it does create 50,000 jobs. Thank you. Beautiful idea. Do you guys ever jump in and question them? Otherwise, it could end up as a sort of a campaign statement for them.
Again, Tell DC is a nonpartisan site. It's not about editorializing. There's absolutely no agenda by the people that run it, whether they're paid or they're volunteers. Mm-hmm. And those are the rules we're going to maintain forever. Because, you know, Democrats have started sites where they want to have a forum, and the subject matter of that usually never gets boiled out. Republicans have started sites. You know, there's several examples that were started by members of Congress, and they're great sites, but you're not going to invite that debate, which is what we're really after.
Yeah.
It's problem solving. It's, you know, we describe it sometimes as, you know, it's a town hall meeting called by the American people, not by politicians.
We're talking to Tell DC founder Tim Yale. Want to bring in his wife, co-founder Christy Yale. And Christy, welcome to Harrison. And you are a participant in this too. And I have to say, you are well, I think it's very smart that he puts you out front the way Dennis Kucinich puts his beautiful wife out front. It can only help the mission.
Why, thank you. That's a very nice compliment.
And a very accurate one as well.
Thank you.
So part of what you guys do then is make sure that the average person's message gets out there, or question gets out there. You're based in Orange County, which tends to have a more conservative mantle, I think, to a lot of people's thinking. And yet you're now helping the Human Rights Campaign, which is a gay rights organization, other things. So you really are showing that you're cross-political. Typically on this station, I don't think most people have the guts or the capability, probably, of bringing on anybody that might challenge them, for God's sake. So I think it's great that you guys are here, that we present that, you know, you're fighting for all of us, whoever we might be, and that there's plenty of room in the sandbox for all the kids.
I haven't met one person lately in the last 2 years that hasn't had something pretty devastating happen in their life based on decisions made by Washington. And that's where it all kind of started. We thought, well, how can we all get together and come up with a plan where smart people and hard workers get the reward of being a democratic American? We don't care what party you're with. We don't want to know necessarily, except we'd like to make sure that we all have a platform where we can speak our mind, where we can demand answers. We have that choice.
And as we talk to Tell DC founder Tim Yale and co-founder his wife Christy Yale, one of the things that I'm always fascinated with is, what have you learned in this process? What I mean by that is, people are so disenfranchised, so cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, so agitated, so ticked off that we have given birth to things like the Tea Party, right?
Right.
Which essentially, in the very beginning, was a great idea, right? And then you had the Koch brothers take it over. Now you have Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas having his wife organize these things. Uh-oh, naughty. I'm going to say that again. Uh-oh, naughty. And that should, if you could get into the Supreme Court and have him splain, Lucy, splain how that's even remotely ethical, I would love to run that video 10 million times. But the Tea Party is the side effect of this sense of disenfranchisement.
Right.
And yes, corporate America has now taken it over and is actually destroying everything the Tea Party wants to build, telling them that that's really what they all want, and Jesus is bringing it on a silver platter.
It's just like the Good Old Boy Network. It's the talking heads. It's business as usual. Everybody starts out wanting to be something different and be unique and genuine democratic American society, but it gets corrupted somehow. So we have to make sure that we have a platform where it is a voice of the people requesting answers from the government. We are not telling them what to say. We are just making sure that they're heard.
See, and Harrison, I think what you just pointed out is exactly what the Tell DC tool does. You're passionate about trying to find out what Clarence Thomas's wife would say if she was confronted by a specific question.
Or confronted with a Coke can with pubes on it.
Okay.
But that was Anita Hill. We already know what she said.
Right, but the challenge is now that you sign up for the site and invite your listeners to agree to that, and then we do our job.
I love it. So where do you get the funding for this? Because it's not cheap to jump on one of them aeroplanes nowadays.
Right. Well, we have staff and we have volunteers, both of those included. We have people back in D.C. You know, D.C. is filled with people who are passionate about their causes, and so we have a diverse group that's working with us, both paid and volunteer. And in every city, we're planning on rolling out the same program to give students in the summer, give people, who are concerned about what's going on with America the chance to actually be heard, voice their opinion, help others voice their opinion. But, to answer your question, we have advertising that advertisers that pay for placement on the site. So it's just like any other social media site.
Now, what if David Koch put an ad on for his toilet paper, or some of the famous products that he produces to help our fundaments be cleansed.
Right.
So this is really kind of who he is in so many ways, my opinion only, of course. What if he put an ad on your site for Tell DC and said, "Oh, by the way, I know you want $10 for my ad. I'm gonna give you $100,000 every other day, but you can't cover anything Tea Party or whatever." Have you run into this situation yet, ethically?
We don't have any ethical issues because to qualify to take part on Tell DC, I'll start with the usership or groups or anything like that. If you have a cause, you have a right to be on Tell DC. It's free, it's simple, you can add it, but we, like I stated before, we don't editorialize, we don't promote, we don't, offer to help this person or this group more than the other one. So if the Koch brothers came to us and wanted to buy advertising, we ethically would not turn them down, but we wouldn't promote them to a different level that anyone else has promoted.
Well, I vote yes for that. Harrison with you. You're listening to Harrison on KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles, 98.7 FM in Santa Barbara, 93.7 in San Diego, 99.5 in Central California. Streaming live right now via Ustream on GoHarrison.com. That's one word, GoHarrison.com. So you can watch and listen simultaneously. We're talking to Tell DC founder Tim Yale. He's joined by his co-founder wife, Christy Yale. And Tim began his career in direct marketing, creating infomercials in the Los Angeles area throughout the 1980s, worked with leaders in the industry, instrumental in involving the traditional media practices of that time into the web applications that are, of course, standards today. And in the early 2000s, he managed the email outreach for the Passion of the Christ. That would be the movie?
That is the movie.
That is the movie. Whew, that was a fun movie, right? After successful commercial promotions, he turned his focus to politics and the strategic deployment of accurate and refined data for the motivation and engagement of American voters. Quick, say that 10 times fast. And leveraging the value of the new media potential of online direct marketing, Mr. Yale, who's here right now, has worked with over 200 campaigns, I think, ranging from state initiatives to presidential candidacies, and happens to be responsible for connecting over 100 million people with their elected representatives. And that's the plot of the play here as we examine Tell DC, which he's telling us now. If you go to Tell DC on the internet, on Mr. Bush's internets, because remember, he had several, and Google's are a series of tubes, and we all know this is true now. And you could speak to that, Tim, because you're a professional. If people go to Tell DC, they can put in what they would like covered. If they want you to go to Michelle Bachmann and ask her the following question, you guys would find a way to actually do that.
If 50 people agree.
50, so all it takes is 50. Oh boy, did you open up a can of worms.
Yeah, but I think we're at the point in our nation's history that the can has to be opened. Again, you look at it, you test the pulse of everyone, the frustration level's out there, but no one has a really efficient channel to make those statements heard, to get your voice across, to actually request, and have someone advocate for a response.
So we'll come up with something fizzy and frolicky that I think will be fun for you guys to carry out. Maybe we can even come along and cover it, because I think that would be so much fun. Coverage of the coverage.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what that means, but it sure sounds like fun.
I can picture it.
Yeah, let's hear Alan West. Give us the backstory on Alan West. We're gonna watch a piece of video here and hear the audio.
This person knew their representative was Congressman West, and posted a question for him, I think related to gas or leadership.
And so here's his response.
First thing, Betty, I think you have an administration that is recalcitrant about doing anything about our energy independence, and you've seen several other administrations that way. But this administration really is standing against us going out and pursuing our oil, natural gas, coal, nuclear, biofuels, renewables, all the full spectrum of the resources we have available. The fact that the president went down to Brazil and now has allowed Brazil to come up and given them the rights to drill in the Gulf of Mexico, and take those energy resources back to Brazil. The fact that when he instituted a moratorium on our own oil drilling, but yet he sent $2 billion of taxpayer monies down to Brazil for them to do oil exploration. Here in the state of Florida, we know that someone is going to drill off of our coast. Cuba is already selling leases for that. So I think that right now we need to have that Manhattan Project for energy independence so that we can develop those full spectrum resources. It's a national security issue, it's an economic issue, and it's a jobs issue. I mean, think about what we can create. So instead of the
Yeah, you know, he's right, with the exception of a couple of things. I mean, Obama has given $30 billion with a B dollars for nuclear projects. The most dangerous stuff humanity has ever devised. I mean, we've got situations in Nebraska. I don't need to tell you this; you already know this. But I mean, we've got rods that are now exposed and melting down. There's a full news blackout on this stuff, right? We have the AP reporting about tritium leaks in 30% of the plants. So I love the fact that we can comment back, and that's the other thing at Tell DC is people can actually comment in a blog style and say Representative XYZ is right on this one, but he's totally full of on the rest.
Well, that's a really good point.
That is an option.
That is a good one.
Well, I am so glad you guys are here. I am so glad that Tell DC exists. We've been waiting for this.
Oh, you know, really.
We've been waiting for this, right?
We've got to imagine a nation where our government officials will not just say that they want transparency in government. Please show us. You know, we're waiting. Transparency in government is very simple. You look me in the eye, you tell me what you're going to do, and you do it.
Right.
Do with the thing you said.
Right.
You know, it's a freedom that we're expecting to have, and the answers need to come from them, and the questions need to come from us.
Christy Yale, co-founder of Tell DC, along with Tell DC founder Tim Yale here on Harrison. I want to thank you both for coming. We're going to stir up a beautiful hornet's nest for you and help you with a nice focused mission and help you get this done.
Yeah.
And there are many politicians, and I have so many delicious and gorgeous multi-dimensional sesquipedalian type questions to ask them. And I love the squirm and wiggle. It thrills me wildly. Two of my ancestors signed the Declaration of Independence. Two more came over in 1620, signed the original Mayflower Compact.
Sure.
You know, off of Provincetown, Massachusetts. You know, Benedict Arnold was a relative.
Wow, you have a
lucky
really
me, right? Abe Lincoln,
group.
My great grandmother's first cousin, Mary Lincoln. So just the whole soup, cat, and pizzas.
Yeah.
So any chance to get in there and stick in a little bit of a bottle brush and twirl it around in there, I vote yes.
Right.
I vote yes. Thank you again. Give us the website so everyone can get to it easily.
Again, it's telldc.com. TELLDC.com, just like you want to tell DC how you feel or what you think they should be doing.
And you can also sign up for Facebook. On your Facebook account, there's a link to Tell DC. You can sign up on Facebook.
So you can use your Facebook profile or Facebook sign up to sign up on Tell.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tell DC founder Tim Yale, co-founder Christy Yale. Thank you for joining us here today on Harrison. Tim has put this thing together along with his wife. And get in touch with me, harrison@goharrison.com or through goharrison.com, and we'll put together the right campaign. We'll get everybody behind it, and we'll get whatever the average question that you have, whatever the average idea you have, and you can do it through Facebook if you want, keyword Go Harrison, same thing with Twitter, and we'll find out what the most compelling question of the most compelling politician is, and we'll join Tim and Christy, and we will, as Captain Picard would say, make it so. Harrison with you. It is 57 minutes past the hour. We are out of time. I want to thank you, Mercy Malik. Thank you for your brutal news stories on nuclear power plants. I just want to pull up my Geiger counter and take a nap.
It's better to know.
Or better yet, bury my Geiger counter and it'll all go away.
Depends on where you bury it.
Geoff, thank you so much, my friend. And we will see you next week, Pacific Time, 2 to 3. You can visit us anytime at goharrison.com. Have a wonderful week.